What would you do if you lost one of your main senses? That is what today's guest, Tanner Gers, is going to be sharing with us on today's episode of Thriving Beyond. For all the news on the upcoming book, Thriving Beyond, head on over to thrivingbeyondbook.com. Welcome to your dose of inspiration, brought to you by thriving.beyond-podcast.com.
It can always be worse. I know it is tough right now, and it will be tough, but it could always be worse. And that was the opportunity for reflection that I needed to realize that I still have my hands and my feet.
Welcome to Thriving Beyond, the podcast with stories of thriving through when the obstacles are far from few. Here's your host, whose own story has been featured in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Vidal Cisneros Jr.
Welcome to Thriving Beyond. I am excited. Today's guest, Tanner Gers, has an incredible story of perseverance. He has been featured in the sportingnews.com, and Tanner is an author, speaker, and a podcast host of The Creative Success Show. And Tanner is a professional athlete on the U.S. national team track and field, but everything he's accomplished, he does with a disability, which makes Tanner truly amazing and a phenomenal thriver. Tanner, welcome to Thriving Beyond. We're honored to have you share your story today. How are you doing, brother?
Vidal, I am doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here.
Man, you are doing some amazing things, and I've enjoyed listening to your podcast. So if you could sum up for the Thriving Beyond listeners what you do in one sentence or less, what would that one sentence be?
I help people realize the greatness, the success that's already breathing inside of them, and giving them the tools, resources, and motivation to take action on it so that they can achieve the lives they've always wanted to live.
Very nice. I love it. So is there a morning ritual, Tanner, that you implement, or maybe a best routine that you use to ignite your day that you could share with the listeners?
100%. Rituals are synonymous with every single successful person who has ever walked the face of the earth. We have got to be ritualistic about our lives if we ever want to create a life of significance and an impact of significance. My morning ritual is visualization. I visualize what it is that I intend to create with my life. I visualize what I intend to create with my day, and I give gratitude and forgiveness within that visualization process.
Love that. So Tanner, you were a typical all-American kid growing up, right?
I was.
And you grew up in different parts of the U.S., right? So it seems like you're well-versed in adapting and thriving in new environments, correct?
Yes.
Going back to your toughest life storm, which I know I could not fathom experiencing what you've gone through. So if you could take us from the global view of what that looked like and bring us down to the curbside view to let our listeners know exactly how that toughest life storm appeared and how you were able to overcome it.
I love curbside view. I actually used to have a mobile kitchen business called the Curbside Grill, so I love that. My big global bird's eye view was that I was going down the wrong path. I was a young and dumb kid, partying crazily, and really just angry. I had to get out of Dodge. I wanted to serve my country, and 9/11 really influenced me. So I was enlisting into the military. I was 21 years old. I had been deep through that process. I had already taken my ASVAB. I knew what my career was going to be in the military, and I was really excited about changing my life, developing the leadership skills, developing the maturity and the responsibility-oriented mindset of creating the life that I wish to live. Then when March 28th, 2004, I was driving my car too fast. I lost control, and ultimately a tree came through my windshield, impaling me in the face, broke nearly every bone in my face, multiple spinal fractures, multiple vertebrae in my spine were fractured. My face was torn off to such a degree that you could see my brain. My skull was cracked open. It was exposed to the air. Ended up developing infections in my sinus cavity, on my brain, another infection that wasn't that serious. I had a traumatic brain injury. And ultimately, when I woke up in the hospital, I was totally blind. So not blind like grandma, not blind like it's a hard time seeing today. I didn't bring my glasses. Blind as in close your eyes, turn off the lights, as dark as it can possibly get. That's what I see on a daily basis. And that's how I woke up in the hospital. Then, I had surgery after surgery after surgery. The road to recovery was so long because of the infections, because of the reconstructive surgeries, because I had 4 brain surgeries. And I had this shift when I was deeply depressed and anxious about losing my life because the infection on my brain was killing me. And on top of all that, I'm totally blind. I'm a bag of bones. I lost so much weight in the hospital. I'm literally skin and bones. And I was having a hard time holding myself up. And when my dad would see me hunched over, he would tell me, chin up. And so I'd pop up and, hold my head up. But I could only do that for a certain amount of time before I would hunch back over. And one day he came around the corner and he said, chin up. And I didn't move. And so he knew that something was wrong because I always responded, but not today. And he sat down next to me and he put his hand on my knee and said, Tanner, what's wrong? What can I do to help? I said, Dad, there's nothing that you can do. I'm blind. My life is meaningless. My life is worthless. My life is over. And he paused for a moment before telling me, Tanner, that is not the attitude you need to have. Because you could be, because you're blind, but you could be blind and you should be in a wheelchair. Tanner, you're blind. You could be in a wheelchair and mentally you should be a vegetable. Tanner, you should be dead. And he let me think about that for a second. And that's when it really hit me. And then he lifted me back up with this. Tanner, it can always be worse. It can always be worse. I know it is tough right now, and it will be tough. But it could always be worse. And that was the opportunity for reflection that I needed to realize that I still have my hands and my feet. I can still walk and talk. I can still create the life that I wish to live. But I am the only one that can create that life. It's up to me. So, what are you going to do about it? Now, this was July of 2004. My accident was in March. I didn't get out of the hospital till Memorial Weekend at the end of May. I had future brain surgeries to go through, but even though it was July, I enrolled in school, got back into college, and continued climbing the ladder of my life from that moment forward.
Wow, Tanner, what an amazing story. You are such a stellar thriver. I wish I could see how you overcame each one of those hurdles, going back to school, learning on a whole nother level, using the only senses you have, which I'm sure they became very acute. And as you evolved during that process, was there an aha moment in there that gave you some clarity that said, this is going to work? Like, I'm on the right path. Let me keep doing this. I'm getting somewhere.
Certainly. And we can have these ups and downs in our lives. And I have had a lot of ups that I'm so grateful for. And I've had a lot of downs. And in the years to come, probably up until 2013, 14, did I really start to realize what's possible. But the first moment that I had this was later that year in 2004. Now, like I said, I had this infection on my brain. I ended up having 4 brain surgeries to correct it. And after the 4th one, I'm in ICU, and my brain surgeon comes in, and you have a pre-op MRI to see what's the game plan, and you have a post-op MRI to see what the results are. And after the post-op MRI results came back, my brain surgeon let my mom know that the infection was still there, and they were going to have to do another brain surgery next year. And one of the ways that they were battling this infection outside of the surgeries was this horrific IV medication that really felt like fire inside my veins. It hurt so bad, and it ate my veins, literally ate my veins so bad that they would start just below my elbow, and then they would switch arms, and then they would go higher up on the first arm, and then higher up again on the second arm, and then they ended up putting a PICC line in, which is a port that's inside your upper arm that goes and drops in directly above your heart, so it can get medication throughout your body faster, and it literally felt like fire inside of me. I was in so much pain constantly, and I'm on IV medications 4 times a day. 1 was for 1 hour, or 2 were for 1 hour, and 2 were for 2 hours. So that's 6 hours of IV meds a day, and they were on equal intervals. So if you divide that up, and you have to be awake for these IV meds, I'm getting almost no sleep, and I'm in pain constantly. And I told my mom in ICU, I said, I'm not taking the medicine anymore. And she goes, what are you talking about? And I said, I'm not doing it. I'm tired of living in pain. It's been 6 months now. And the doctors, they can't give me a guarantee. They can't say, if you take this, you'll get better. 6 months, 4 brain surgeries, and no progress. I'm not doing this. I am going to live my life on my own terms, and that is damn sure not going to be in pain. And if I die, I'm going to die on my own terms. I'm not going to die in pain. I'm not going to live like this. And she goes, well, what do you want me to do? I was like, you can just tell them. You just tell them I'm not going on the meds. I'll do the next brain surgery, but I'm not living like this. And, so with incredible bedside manner, he came in and pretty much yelled at me and said, do you want to die? And I said, if it means living like this, I'm willing to take the risk. And so he said, he goes, enjoy these holidays, and I'll see you next year. So fast forward to February, getting the pre-op MRI results, and the doctor, horrible bedside manner, he goes, Tanner, I don't know what to tell you because, these results are negative. The MRI came back negative. It's negative because there's no infection. I don't know what happened. I don't know what to tell you, but there's no reason for a brain surgery because you're healthy. And that was the moment for me.
Amazing, amazing story. You said something in there super powerful, Tanner. You said that if living like this in pain isn't the way I want to live the rest of my life, it's not living. So you made that conscious choice that that's not life for you. And I've seen family members, go through their moments, and they were in situations where they were at the end of their line and they had lived a long, fruitful life. And it's so hard to come to that conclusion that no matter what's going to happen, I can't live this way. And when you're fed up, Thrivers listening, when you're fed up with life, that's when things shift. Things don't shift when we're comfortable. Things shift when we are completely uncomfortable and we're fed up. And we have to be honest with ourselves. And sometimes we need somebody to call us out. And it's so funny, Tanner, that you said March 28th. And a monumental day for me is March 24th, when things shifted completely and my whole world turned upside down. And I used to see that as D-Day. And now I see it as the day that I recognize that this new life began.
Yeah.
So my next question is there a mantra, a prayer, or an affirmation that you use daily to help you overcome some of the challenges that you face?
Sure. It's make plans like an adult and believe in them like a child. Jim Rohn. And when, in that situation that I just described, that story is, I was fed up. I know a lot of people listening to this call right now are fed up. And when you double down on yourself, when you realize that if you approach things like your life is on the line, which it is, maybe to one degree or another, maybe it's not that it's a life or death situation, but if you approach it like it's a life or death situation, and you immediately realize that you have to believe in yourself, you immediately realize that you need a plan. And you immediately realize that you are all in. There is no turning back. You have faith in what you're doing. Because if you don't, you're already dead. So make plans like an adult and believe in them like a child.
Now, what is the best advice, Tanner, that you've received from a coach and a mentor that helped shift your life? And I know you mentioned your father. He gave you some great advice by focusing on the worst case scenario that could have happened and didn't happen. And that was something that I also used when I was going through my worst times, when I was incarcerated and facing all of these odds. I focused on who is in a worse situation than me, and I would pray to God, please God, give me some cancer patients, somebody that can humble me, because I can tell I was actually seeing that I was losing focus. So I was blessed to have 3 cancer patients in the same dorm room when I was incarcerated come through those doors. And God answers your prayers. Sometimes they're not always when you want them, but they're on time, right? So what is some more advice that helped shift things from a mentor or coach?
So my mentor told me there's a big, and I hope no one gets it. I'll change the language. So there's a big pile of poop right here. And instead of focusing on that poop, we just got to find the pony.
Oh man, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true, right? I mean, every situation provides an opportunity to learn. What can I learn from this is the question to ask. What is it that is going to affect me here? How, instead of asking why did this happen to me, ask what is the reason this happened to me? What is the purpose behind this? What can I gain? What can I stand to learn from this? What can I gain from this? What opportunities are on the heels of this? What development and growth and understanding will I achieve from this? Last year at the national championships for track and field, I had a horrible performance. And I put a lot of things off to be there at that event. And it was so difficult for me. But that was when I realized that I was asking the wrong questions. I kept asking, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why did I put in all this work? Why was I doing so good? And then when it comes down to the big show, things just hit the fan and it all fell apart. Why? And that's the wrong question. And it's what? What can I do about this? What's in motion that I don't know about yet? What's possible on the heels of this situation? And so start asking yourself, what are you going to learn? What are you going to do? What are you going to grow from? What is possible? What opportunities are happening, are in motion, but that have yet to present themselves? And stop asking why. Ask what.
Amen. Stop asking why and just focus on the new opportunities that are one step beyond that pain, that obstacle. That's what I love about the Thrivers listening, is that we're not just trying to exist. We're not just trying to recover from an addiction, recover from whatever it is we're going through. We are trying to evolve and thrive beyond and create a new identity that grows exponentially into a new trajectory. And that's exactly what happened in my life. And Tanner, obviously it's happened with yours. You didn't let a handicap be a detriment to your life. You excel through it. You throve way beyond where you were before. And so many of us want to give up right at that point when things are about to shift, right at that point when you're 3 inches away from gold.
Yes.
Keep going. No matter what you're going through, you just got to put one foot in front of the other. And the obstacles don't get easier, but guess what? You can get stronger. It has to be a choice. So the next question, Tanner, is what's the best 2 to 3 step formula that you can give our thrivers listening that can help them create a thriving lifestyle?
Certainly. It's pretty simple. One is change your mind, and change your mind to be focused on positivity, on what's possible, on the success that's already breathing inside of you. Stay focused on that positivity, right? So change your mind. The second thing is to take action. You have to take unrelenting action, because whether you're poor or you're rich, whether you own a successful business or you're just thinking about starting a business, whether you're sitting on the couch watching Netflix, binging out, or you're out there running a marathon, things are going to happen. Failure is going to strike. And so if you realize that no matter what you're going to do, that failure is going to happen, it's so much easier to relentlessly take action. Relentlessly take action. Take action. Take action. One step today is a step closer to where you're going. The third thing is to get the third step is to get up after that failure happens. You cannot allow failure to phase you. Don't allow failure to phase you. Again, same thing with step 2. Take action regardless of whether or not you think you're going to fail, because you're going to fail. And then 3, when failure happens, let it bounce off of you. Don't let that stick to you. You've been so successful already. You woke up today. You've got a roof over your head. How about just waking up in a bed? You're not outside. You're not homeless. How about being grateful for the technology that you have? Failure is going to happen, but what are you going to do about it? So number 1 is change your mind. Number 2, take action. Number 3, when failure strikes, when failure happens, don't let it phase you. Keep going.
So right on point with our thrivers out there listening. And if we could just take away one last thing from what you've said today, Tanner, maybe somebody out there is in a similar situation exactly right where you are. And they're saying, dude, you got through it. What is the one thing that I can do right now to overcome my handicap today, right now? Just give me one thing that I can do right now. What would that one thing be?
One of the biggest things that was holding me back when I was first blind was I really felt like I was on an island. I didn't know another blind person. My parents had their house way out in the middle of nowhere. So there was no buses. There wasn't resources available. It was a rural community. They literally lived at the end of a dirt road. And so I felt alone. And I felt isolated. If you have a disability or you have some kind of handicap or you don't, whatever your situation is, let me tell you something. There is another person out there like you. Now, misery loves company, so you've got to be selective with who you hang out with. And hanging out with better people, stronger people, people who are better than you, provides opportunities to learn, opportunities to grow. And those quote-unquote better people, meaning they're just at a different position in life than where you are, quote-unquote better, is that they will help you. because they will see your motivation to be better, to be more, do more, and create more. So one is just to understand and be aware that there are other people who are just like you, who have the same struggles that you have and have already overcome the struggles that you're facing right now. So there feels like a ceiling above you, but there really isn't. And when you begin to realize that there's other people like you, then you begin to realize that you can achieve success in your life.
Wow, Tanner, I'm so resonating with everything you're saying. So listeners, before we get into the call to action and connect with Tanner, I want to ask you, Tanner, a deep dive question. Now take your time answering this.
Okay.
100 years from today, there's a statue erected in your image. Now this statue has on it one thing that you are going to be remembered for during that time frame of 100 years. What would that one thing be, Tanner?
It would say that greatness is possible regardless of circumstance.
Amen. I love that so much. Tanner, it's been such a pleasure having you and share your powerful story. And where is the best way that we can connect with you for all those listeners out there listening?
Absolutely. There are numerous websites that I have, but probably the best one to find me right now is creativesuccessshow.com. That is the main domain for my podcast. That is the main portal that I am using to help other entrepreneurs and those who are entrepreneur curious, who want to write their first manuscript, who want to launch their first business, and for those who just need a little bit of motivation to get going in the right direction.
All the details will be in the show description. So Tanner, man, you are doing amazing things. Are there any bigger projects that you have currently coming up that you would like to share as well?
There are so many things that I'm doing right now, Vidal. I have a health and fitness background, so I have my health and fitness blog, and I just wrapped up my nutrition and fitness program called Complete Detox 21. The landing page for that is completedetox21.com. I've got that, but I'm super excited about that. It's just wrapping up. My developer is putting together the site right now, so whenever this podcast goes live, I'm sure that'll be up and running. And the other big thing that I'm excited about is I just finished it's not my third book, but it'll be the third book that I'm publishing. And I am taking this book to hardback. It'll probably be a year out from right now because we're just getting deeper into the process of getting a hardback book published, which takes an incredible amount of time. But so when maybe that comes out, I can come back on here and share the messages that I've learned along my journey, which is what I share in the book, the messages and ideas, mindsets, the success principles that I lay out in this book. We can come back on and discuss those.
Absolutely. The invite is always there, Tanner.
Thank you, Vidal.
Right on. So thank you for listening, and thank you, Tanner, again for your powerful story. Man, listeners, head on over to Tanner's podcast as well, The Creative Success Show, and catch more of Tanner's episodes. And as always, don't forget, keep going, keep growing, and keep thriving, because it's way better than just surviving.
Thanks for listening. For recaps and to claim bonus gifts, head over to thriving beyond podcast.com. Keep thriving.